Hi, you guys. You guys, I'm so blown. Like, that whole thing didn't even record. Mm. So, anyways, I'm just going to do it again. This is a book review for the book A Stranger in the House. This book I read back in December, and it was a book on my book club's, monthly list or yearly list or quarterly list. We read it for the month of December, and I literally bought this book the last minute. Like I bought this book on Christmas Eve and started reading it that night, and I was supposed to have it done by the 27th, and did not finish in time. So I finished it, I think, on the 29th, and mm, this book was like, I was just like, sis, really? Um, the style of writing that I'm used to when I read, because I consider myself to be a pretty avid reader. I read a book a week almost, and when you've read as like I've been reading for a while now, so when you've read as much as I have read, and you've read certain authors who really bring like a literary heightenedness to, and just their writing style is just strong and just textured and just heavy, and it sticks with you when you're used to reading authors like that. It's really hard to read something that is, I hate to say beneath, but just like a few tiers down from that. So um in regards to the style of this book and the style of the writing, it's not really my cup of tea, but I did finish reading it. I will say the plot twist at the end was really cool, and I really thought that that was interesting. Was an interesting layer to add to the mix. But in regards to just this book, it's just very hard to take in. It was quick to read. I'll say that. The font was really small. That was cool. I like that. But it was really hard to like want to read this and like really want to engage it. Although I got through it pretty quickly. Um, my favorite character in the book was probably the detective. I think his name was like Detective Ramsey Rashbach. Rasbach. That was my favorite character in the book. He was a detective, and the only reason why he was my favorite character, to be honest, was because I made him interesting in my mind. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Knives Out. That's a really good movie. Really well written. Really good characters. Memorable characters. I made Detective Rasbach in this book into Daniel Craig's character in Knives Out. Like, even with like the accent and everything. Like, that movie was great acting, great storytelling, humorous. Like, it was memorable. And it was suspenseful, but it was funny. This book is suspense, and it's very flat. It was very flat, and I needed more texture. I need you to bring the world to life for me. I can't I can't bring life to the world and put it into the book. And that's what I felt like I was doing with this book. I made the characters something more, when really and truly that's what the author should be doing. You should be making the characters so memorable that I should be able to remember them 3 months, 3 years, 30 years down the line if I've read this book before. When I'm 30 years from now, when I'm 60 something and I'm looking at my library of books and I pull out a book, I should be like, oh yeah, this character like this. Like, that's the type of writing I want to put out into the world. So when I read stuff that doesn't live up to those type of expectations that I have for writing, I'm just like, man, I feel like I wasted my time. Or I'm just like, or it's making me do more work as a reader, as an audience member, right? Because we have to make it interesting. And if I have to make it interesting with my mind, then that's essentially forcing me and pushing me to want to keep reading. When really and truly, what you should be giving me is a page turner. And I just wasn't getting that from this book. What was forcing me to turn the pages, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. What was forcing me to turn the pages on this book was the fact that I was trying to make it by the deadline of December 27th to be in my book club talking about the book. I wasn't like turning the pages because it was good. I was turning the pages trying to like get through it, and I still didn't get through it because I wasn't motivated to read it because it wasn't really living up to my expectations. So to say that, I mean, this is a suspense book, so it's, you know, it's a different genre. It's not a genre that I'm typically used to. For me, what I'm typically used to and what I am currently writing right now is a Southern Gothic. And that's, you know, the types of books that I like. They're very, you know, mythical and textured and just deeply rooted within me, honestly, because it's my, you know, background, it's my upbringing, it's my roots. Not to say that you can't write a suspense drama in that type of environment or world, because you can, but I have yet to read one. Well, I guess what I'm reading right now is kind of, but in regards to the writing style, this book just wasn't there. Um, Characters, it wasn't there. They weren't fully developed. They were very flat, very 3D. The ending plot twist was okay, but still wasn't. It wasn't enough for me to be like, yeah, go get this book. If you want to read this book, go for it. Cool. To me, I think this is the type of book that you buy at Target or in the airport, and you need something to take your mind off the flight. That's what this is. And even then, like, you're kind of like, okay, why did I pick this one? No shade to the writer. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just used to a certain level of reading now because I've been reading a lot more over the last few years. And this book is kind of like a couple of tiers down or a couple of tiers back for me. If I read this book like 5 years ago, I would be like, okay, cool. Even 5 years ago, I'll probably be like, this wasn't all the way there. Now reading it, I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. So, uh, yeah, there were things happening. I was like, really, really, like the main character, the main male character, he kind of like dated one of his neighbors, so she still had the key to his house. I'm just like, huh? Like, why does she have the key to your house? And y'all stop talking. Like, that would be one of the first things I would get back if somebody ever had a key to my house. But, you know, I guess they needed that to like keep it, you know, interesting. Yeah, just a lot of weird stuff happening in this book. A lot of people not having a life. People just like watching people just for the fun of it. Which is interesting because the book that I read next is very similar in that theme, where people are just constantly watching because they have nothing to do. I'm like, y'all don't have nothing to do. And then people not having blinds or curtains. Like, what is that? Is that a thing that we're doing in 2020, 2021? Not having blinds or curtains. Like, that's weird. The book that I read in January with my book club was called When No One's Watching. And that, like, they all in this neighborhood, all on this block or whatever. And everybody's watching each other. It's really interesting. But I'll get into that in my next book review. I may or may not have the same hairstyle. I don't know. I got a couple book reviews I need to do. But yeah, this book I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to read it, go ahead. You know, maybe you'll have a different opinion of it. But when I read, I have a certain expectation level of the style and the writing and just the heaviness of the writing. I want to be challenged when I read something as an audience member. But I wasn't getting that from this. You're not going to get challenged from this. You know? So that was A Stranger in the House. Y'all want to go get it? Be my guest, you know? I'll probably be doing the book review on When No One's Watching next. Like I said, may or may not have the same hairstyle. I can't promise you that you will get the book review this week, but you will get one. And then I'm reading The Water Dancer right now. I have a lot to say. I'll be done with that probably in the next 2 or 3 days. And then I'll start The Better Liar next week, which is the book that I'm reading with my book club. But yeah, book reviews are on the way, and I'm still writing my novel. Writing a novel is hard. I haven't taken a few weeks off from it. Right now, I'm more so focused on my short story series, and I will be releasing my second book this month, hopefully. And I'll probably my second poetry book, not novel. I'm still working on my first novel, but I'll be releasing my second poetry book this month, and then I'll probably release my third poetry book at the end of the year. But yeah, I've been writing and reading and studying and just trying to become a better writer myself, and actually live up to my own expectations of myself and for my audience. Because they'll probably look back and watch these videos and be like, wow, she was talking all this mess. But sis can't even write herself. So, I'm studying and doing the research and learning too. And hopefully I too will have a New York Times bestseller like Miss Sherry Lapina. Hopefully I'll get a Pulitzer or something, something real cute. But anyways, that was the book review. I will see y'all when I see y'all next time. And I hope y'all have a great night. Bye.